The alien scout ship glided silently over the desolate surface of Earth, its sensors scanning for any signs of life. The planet was a graveyard, its once vibrant cities reduced to crumbling ruins, its oceans turned to toxic sludge, and its skies choked with ash. The scout's commander, a cold and calculating alien known as Vrax, observed the data with a sense of grim satisfaction. Humanity was gone, extinct, wiped out in the final, cataclysmic battle of the war. The alien coalition had triumphed, and the galaxy was now free of the human menace. Or so they thought. Vrax's mind drifted back to the final days of the war. The alien coalition had descended upon Earth with overwhelming force, their fleets blotting out the stars. Humanity's defenses had been formidable, but they were no match for the combined might of the coalition. The skies had burned with the fire of 1,000 battles, and the ground had trembled beneath the weight of the alien war machines. Cities fell one by one, their populations slaughtered or enslaved. The humans had fought bravely, but it was a hopeless struggle. In the end, their fleets were annihilated, their leaders captured or killed, and their civilization reduced to ashes. But Vrax had always been uneasy about one thing: the humans' resilience. They were a species unlike any other, capable of enduring unimaginable suffering and bouncing back stronger than ever. Even in their darkest hour, they had refused to surrender, fighting to the bitter end. And now, as Vrax surveyed the ruins of Earth, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. There were no bodies, no signs of a final stand. It was as if the humans had simply vanished. Unbeknownst to Vrax, deep within the asteroid belt, a small group of survivors had gathered in a hidden base. They were the last remnants of humanity, a handful of scientists, engineers, and soldiers who had escaped the destruction of Earth. Among them was Dr. Elena Reyes, a brilliant physicist who had dedicated her life to developing advanced technologies for humanity's defense. She had been working on a secret project, one that could turn the tide of the war, but it had come too late to save Earth. The survivors had spent months in hiding, mourning their losses and struggling to survive. But they had not given up. They had pooled their knowledge and resources, working tirelessly to rebuild and prepare for the day when they could strike back. Dr. Reyes' project, a revolutionary new energy source, had been the key. It was a technology that could power an entire fleet, making them faster, stronger, and more deadly than anything the aliens had ever seen. As the survivors worked, they were driven by a single, unshakable belief: humanity would rise again. They had lost everything, but they still had each other, and they still had hope. They knew that the aliens believed them to be extinct, and they intended to use that to their advantage. The element of surprise would be their greatest weapon. The base was a hive of activity, with engineers assembling ships, soldiers training for combat, and scientists fine-tuning the new technology. Dr. Reyes oversaw the final preparations, her mind racing with calculations and strategies. She knew that the odds were against them, but she also knew that they had no other choice. This was their last chance, and they had to make it count. As the fleet neared completion, the survivors gathered for a final briefing. The mood was tense but determined. They knew that the road ahead would be fraught with danger, but they also knew that they were fighting for something greater than themselves. They were fighting for the survival of their species, for the memory of those they had lost, and for the future of humanity. The briefing ended with a simple message: they think we're gone. They're wrong. The survivors boarded their ships, their hearts filled with a mixture of fear and hope. They knew that the battle ahead would be the most difficult of their lives, but they also knew that they were ready. Humanity had been knocked down, but it was not out, and now it was time to rise again. As the fleet launched from the hidden base, the survivors felt a surge of adrenaline. They were no longer the hunted. They were the hunters, and they were coming for the aliens with everything they had. The galaxy would soon learn that humanity was not so easily defeated. They had been pushed to the brink, but they had not broken, and now they were stronger than ever. The hidden base, carved deep into the heart of a massive asteroid, buzzed with relentless activity. Every corridor echoed with the sounds of welding torches, the hum of machinery, and the sharp commands of engineers and soldiers. The survivors, though few in number, moved with a singular purpose: to rebuild what had been lost and to forge a weapon that would strike back at the aliens who had brought humanity to its knees. The base itself was a marvel of ingenuity, a testament to human resilience. Its walls were lined with salvaged materials from destroyed ships and abandoned colonies, repurposed into something greater. Power conduits snaked through the corridors, feeding energy to the heart of the operation, a prototype reactor that pulsed with an otherworldly glow. Dr. Elena Reyes stood at the center of it all, her eyes fixed on the reactor's core. It was her life's work, a revolutionary energy source that harnessed the power of quantum entanglement. The technology had been theoretical before the war, but desperation had a way of accelerating progress. The reactor was capable of generating an immense amount of energy with minimal fuel, making it the perfect power source for a new fleet of ships. But it was more than just a power source. It was a symbol of humanity's refusal to give up, even in the face of annihilation. The survivors had worked tirelessly to refine the technology, overcoming countless setbacks and failures. The reactor had been unstable at first, prone to catastrophic meltdowns that threatened to destroy the entire base. But through trial and error, they had tamed it. Now, it was the beating heart of their operation, powering everything from the shipyards to the life support systems. And it was the key to their survival. In the shipyards, engineers worked around the clock to construct a fleet of warships unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. These were not the bulky, slow-moving vessels of the old human fleet. These ships were sleek and agile, designed for speed and precision. Their hulls were reinforced with a new alloy that made them nearly impervious to enemy fire, and their weapon systems were powered by the quantum reactor, giving them unparalleled destructive capability. Each ship was a masterpiece of engineering, a testament to the ingenuity and determination of survivors. But building the fleet was only half the battle. The survivors knew that they would need more than just advanced technology to defeat the aliens. They would need skill, discipline, and unity. And so, while the engineers worked on the ships, the soldiers trained. They drilled relentlessly, honing their combat skills and learning to work together as a cohesive unit. They knew that the aliens would not go down without a fight, and they were determined to be ready. The training was grueling, but it was also cathartic. For many of the survivors, it was a way to channel their grief and anger into something productive. They had lost everything, their homes, their families, their world, but they still had each other, and they still had a mission. That mission was what kept them going, even when the weight of their losses threatened to crush them. As the days turned into weeks, the fleet began to take shape. The first ship, a sleek destroyer named the Phoenix, rolled off the assembly line and was immediately put through its paces. Its maiden voyage was a success, its systems performing flawlessly under the strain of combat simulations. The survivors celebrated the milestone, but they knew that it was only the beginning. They still had a long way to go before they were ready to face the aliens. Dr. Reyes spent every waking moment fine-tuning the reactor and overseeing construction of the fleet. She knew that time was their most precious resource, and she was determined to make every second count. Her work was driven by a singular goal: to ensure that humanity would never again be at the mercy of its enemies. She had seen what the aliens were capable of, and she was determined to make them pay for what they had done. The survivors' efforts were not without sacrifice. The base's resources were limited, and every decision came with a cost. Food and water were rationed, and sleep was a luxury that few could afford. But no one complained. They all understood the stakes, and they were willing to endure whatever it took to see their mission through. As the fleet neared completion, the survivors began to feel a sense of anticipation. They had been living in the shadows for so long, hiding from the aliens and licking their wounds. But now, they were ready to step back into the light. They were ready to fight back. The final piece of the puzzle fell into place when the last ship, a massive carrier named the Resurgence, was completed. It was a crown jewel of the fleet, capable of carrying hundreds of fighters and equipped with enough firepower to level a planet. Its launch marked the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. The survivors gathered in the shipyard, their eyes fixed on the carrier as it was towed into position. They knew that the road ahead would be fraught with danger, but they also knew that they were ready. Dr. Reyes stood at the forefront of the group, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and excitement. She had dedicated her life to this moment, and now it was here. She turned to the survivors, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "This is it," she said. This is our chance to show the galaxy that humanity is not so easily defeated. We've been knocked down, but we're not out. And now it's time to rise again." The survivors cheered, their voices echoing through the shipyard. They knew that the battle ahead would be the most difficult of their lives. But they also knew that they were ready. They had been forged in the fires of adversity. And they were stronger than ever. The fleet was complete, and it was time to take the fight to the aliens. As the ships powered up and prepared to launch, the survivors felt a surge of adrenaline. They were no longer the hunted. They were the hunters, and they were coming for the aliens with everything they had. The galaxy would soon learn that humanity was not so easily defeated. They had been pushed to the brink, but they had not broken, and now they were stronger than ever. The fleet emerged from the asteroid belt like a storm breaking over a silent horizon. The ships, sleek and deadly, move with precision, their hulls glinting faintly in the starlight. At the lead was the Phoenix, its quantum reactor humming with barely contained power. Behind it, the Resurgence loomed like a titan, flanked by a swarm of smaller fighters. The survivors had spent months preparing for this moment, and now, as they hurtled toward their first target, the tension on the bridge was palpable. Dr. Elena Reyes stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the holographic display that showed their destination, a heavily fortified alien outpost on the edge of a dying star system. It was a strategic stronghold, one of many the aliens had established after Earth's fall. Taking it down would send a message. Humanity was back. The outpost came into view, a sprawling complex of spires and docking bays surrounded by a fleet of alien warships. The aliens had grown complacent, their defenses lax after years of uncontested dominance. They had no reason to expect an attack, least of all from a species they believed extinct. The human fleet approached undetected, their advanced cloaking technology masking their presence until it was too late. The first salvo of quantum-powered missiles streaked through the void, striking the outpost shields with devastating force. The aliens scrambled to respond, their ships launching in disarray. But it was already too late. The human fleet was upon them. The battle was swift and brutal. The alien ships, though numerous, were no match for the human fleet's advanced technology. The quantum reactors allowed the human ships to maneuver with unparalleled agility, dodging enemy fire and striking with pinpoint accuracy. The alien shields, designed to withstand conventional weapons, buckled under the onslaught of quantum power projectiles. One by one, the alien ships were reduced to smoldering wrecks, their crews overwhelmed by the ferocity of the human assault. The outpost itself was next. The Resurgence unleashed a barrage of energy beams, tearing to the complex's defenses and reducing its spires to molten slag. Within minutes, the outpost was a smoking ruin, its once proud fleet scattered and broken. As the dust settled, the human fleet regrouped, their ships unscathed and their resolve unshaken. The survivors had expected a fight, but the ease of their victory was a stark reminder of just how far they had come. The aliens had underestimated them, and it had cost them dearly. But this was only the beginning. The outpost was a minor target, a stepping stone on the path to reclaiming what had been lost. The real battle was still to come. News of the attack spread quickly, carried by the survivors' encrypted transmissions and the panicked chatter of the alien forces. Across the galaxy, whispers began to circulate. Humanity was not extinct. They had returned, and they were stronger than ever. For the oppressed species who had suffered under the alien coalition's rule, the news was a spark of hope. For the aliens, it was a nightmare come to life. They had believed humanity to be a relic of the past, a footnote in the history of their conquest. Now, they were forced to confront the reality that their greatest enemy had not only survived, but thrived. The human fleet moved quickly, striking at alien outposts and supply lines with surgical precision. Each victory bolstered their confidence and drew more attention to their cause. The aliens, caught off guard by the sudden resurgence of their old foe, scrambled to mount a defense. But their efforts were hampered by infighting and arrogance. They had grown accustomed to being the dominant power in the galaxy, and the idea that a species they had once crushed could rise again was unthinkable. By the time they realized the gravity of the threat, it was too late. The human fleet had gained momentum, and there was no stopping them. The survivors, emboldened by their success, began to reach out to other species who had suffered under the alien coalition's rule. They offered aid and protection in exchange for support, and their message resonated with those who had long yearned for freedom. Slowly but surely, a coalition of their own began to form. It was a fragile alliance, built on shared suffering and a common enemy, but it was enough. The human fleet was no longer fighting alone. As the fleet prepared for its next move, Dr. Reyes took a moment to reflect on how far they had come. The journey had been long and fraught with danger, but they had persevered. They had turned despair into determination, loss into strength. And now, as they stood on the brink of a new chapter in their struggle, she felt a surge of pride. They had been knocked down, but they had not been defeated. They had risen from the ashes, stronger and more united than ever, and they were ready to take back what was theirs. The fleet's next target was a major alien stronghold, a hub of their military operations, and a symbol of their dominance. Taking it down would be no easy task, but the survivors were ready. They had faced impossible odds before, and they had emerged victorious. This would be no different. As the fleet moved into position, the survivors steeled themselves for the battle ahead. They knew that the aliens would not go down without a fight, but they also knew that they had the strength to win. The galaxy had written them off, but they were about to prove that humanity was far from finished. The fight was just beginning. The alien stronghold loomed ahead, a massive fortress orbiting a dying star. Its spires bristled with weapons, and its docks were filled with warships ready to defend it. This was the heart of the alien coalition's power in the sector, a symbol of their dominance and a testament to their ruthlessness. The human fleet approached cautiously, their ships cloaked and their weapons primed. They knew this would be their greatest challenge yet, but they also knew that victory here would change everything. The galaxy was watching, and humanity was ready to prove that they were not just survivors, they were conquerors. The battle began with a single, devastating strike. The Phoenix unleashed a barrage of quantum missiles, targeting the stronghold's shield generators. The alien defenses flared to life, absorbing the initial impact, but the sheer force of the attack overwhelmed them. The generators exploded in a cascade of light, leaving the stronghold vulnerable. The human fleet surged forward, their ships weaving through the chaos as they engaged the alien warships. The aliens fought back with everything they had, their weapons lighting up the void with deadly precision, but they were outmatched. The human fleet's advanced technology and superior tactics gave them the edge, and they pressed their advantage relentlessly. Inside the stronghold, panic spread as the human fleet broke through their defenses. The aliens had never faced an enemy like this before, and their arrogance turned to fear as the reality of their situation set in. They scrambled to mount a counterattack, but it was too late. The human ships were already inside their perimeter, their weapons tearing through the stronghold hull and reducing its defenses to rubble. The survivors fought with ferocity born of desperation and determination, their every move calculated to maximize destruction. They had come too far to fail now, and they would not be denied. As the battle raged, Dr. Elena Reyes monitored the situation from the bridge of the Resurgence. Her mind raced with calculations and strategies, her every decision critical to the fleet's success. She had spent months preparing for this moment, and now, as the stronghold crumbled before her eyes, she felt a surge of triumph. But there was no time to celebrate. The aliens were not yet defeated, and the fight was far from over. She issued orders with calm precision, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. The survivors trusted her implicitly, and they followed her commands without hesitation. The turning point came when the human fleet breached the stronghold's command center. A team of soldiers, led by Captain Marcus Hale, fought their way through the alien defenders, their weapons blazing. The aliens fought back fiercely, but they were no match for human skill and determination. The command center fell, and with it, the stronghold's ability to coordinate its defenses. The alien ships, now leaderless and disorganized, began to retreat, their resolve shattered. The human fleet pursued them relentlessly, their weapons cutting through the fleeing ships with ruthless efficiency. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. As the dust settled, the survivors took stock of their victory. The stronghold was in ruins, its once proud spires reduced to smoldering wreckage. The alien fleet had been decimated, their ships scattered and broken. The human fleet, though battered, remained intact, their resolve unshaken. They had achieved the impossible, and in doing so, they had sent a message to the galaxy. Humanity was not to be underestimated. The survivors knew that their victory was just the beginning. The aliens would not take this defeat lightly, and they would retaliate with everything they had. But the survivors were ready. They had faced the worst the galaxy could throw at them, and they had emerged stronger for it. They had turned despair into determination, loss into strength. And now, as they stood on the brink of a new era, they knew that they had the power to shape their own destiny. Dr. Reyes addressed the fleet, her voice filled with pride and determination. "This is just the beginning," she said. "We've shown the galaxy that we're not so easily defeated. We've proven that humanity is stronger than ever. And now, it's time to take back what's ours." The survivors cheered, their voices echoing through the ships. They knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult, but they also knew that they had the strength to see it through. They had been forged in the fires of adversity, and they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The galaxy had written them off, but they had proven that humanity was far from finished. The fight was just beginning, and they were ready to win.